The truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off.
Hey! Hello, everyone. What up? Can you see me? All right. Okay. Hello. 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 I feel mad awkward because this is the first time that I'm like actually sitting down and devoting all my energy toward this and being serious, but we're doing this. We're like active and we're live. So hello, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. That is that. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Star. My pronouns are they, them. I am a 20-year-old vegan activist currently living in Virginia. I am a senior at George Mason University, and I'm studying psychology with a minor in African and African American studies. So, now that you know a little bit about me, I am here to shed some insight on how to begin your vegan activism in your area, particularly if you feel like you're the only vegan in your area or you are the only vegan that you know. Particularly one that's oriented towards like activism and ethical reasoning for transitioning, you know, more so than just like a health-based transition. So this is just kind of like based off of what I experienced. Like when I went vegan, I kind of was like the only one around who was really worried about it. So I kind of like started up my own activism because I'm like an activist at heart, right? And so I kind of, once I figured out all these things about veganism, I was like, okay, what the heck? Like, how can we start acting on these things? You know what I'm saying? So I have a lot of tips for how to begin activism and how to begin seeing like results, you know, and how to measure results kind of without feeling as though you are taking things very personally, because that's hard to do. So yes, so my first step, and this should always be your first step, is to research other organizations or other people doing, individuals or communities doing the work that you are doing and that you want to do in your area. So I live in Virginia, but I'm pretty close to DC, right? And so in the DMV, there's a lot of vegan activism going on that works to like, vegan activism that is centered towards like providing access for Black and brown communities. There's a lot of food justice work being done that's like holistic and considerate of, there's a lot of ethical vegan activism going on coming from vegans of color. In like Baltimore, for example, with Brenda Sanders at Thrive Baltimore, and even Jamila Inahata, which is the, I believe she's the director. I don't want to mistitle her, but she works with Afro Vegan Society. And so organizations like that, I really had no idea existed. And so I thought I was the only Black vegan out here, like realizing like the ethical components of veganism and how they relate to like the African diaspora and the Black experience and colonization, things like that. So first, do your research to see what other people are doing the same work in your area, because you can combine forces instead of starting something from scratch. You know, you can also gain insight on from them if they've been doing it for years and they have a few like ways to get grants. Like for example, I didn't even think of the concept of getting grant funding. I was kind of just going to do this out of pocket, which is ridiculous. So once I was able to call, the first person that I knew of was DC Greens, right? Like that was the only food justice organization that I knew. So I called them up, and Mary Alice Riley told me, she was like, have you heard of these funding? Have you heard of the Pollination Project, the Well-Fed World, Veg Fund? I was like, no, I have not heard of these people. Like, let me go get that vegan money, because there are a lot of like people out there who are looking to fund activists too, like community work, local organizations. Always do your research and always reach out to people who are doing similar work in your area. That's number one. Number two is to declutter your social media or create a social media that is in line with a brand that you want to create that's related to your vegan activism. So a very pivotal step in my journey as far as my activism was creating Black Feminist Vegan, because at first when I was on my mainstream social media, you kind of see like the same narratives or like pointless narratives, right? And when you become aligned with activism, you kind of think like some things are funny, right? Like I love good comedy, which is why that's why I put or create a brand that's in line with yours, because I did declutter my social media to a certain point where, you know, things that I believe are very like disaligned with who I am and who I want to be aren't on there. And at the same time, people who are just funny and who are goofy and lighthearted, like I still follow them because they're mad funny. Like I love good, like I love a little drama, you know. I love like some good humor. So my regular Twitter is still pretty much me just like joning and things like that. Then I have Black Feminist Vegan on Instagram and Twitter, which aligns me with organizations and individuals who are oriented towards vegan activism, who have like brands that they're promoting, like products that they're selling, and also narratives that challenge my own and that allow me to expand and allow me to grow. You know, sharing documentaries, sharing events and festivals and conferences and things like that. Getting to know other activists who, like, you may be on the explore page for your Instagram just based on who you follow. You may find somebody who's doing work that you want to do only like maybe like 5 hours away, you know, which is like not close, but it's also something that if you were to plan like a weekend trip or something, perhaps you would be able to get there. So decluttering your social media is big because it's a lot of like what we consume on a daily basis. So if you're trying to become like a better activist, try to like unfollow people who are completely disaligned with what you want to do and begin following more people who challenge you, who allow you to grow, who expose you to concepts that you feel like are in line with your activism, and that can help you begin, I was going to say activating. I like that. Activating in your area. So that's number 2, is declutter your social media or create a second one that's in line with the brand that you want to create. The third one would be to support local vegan events. Now, this is kind of like going based off of the last thing because it's like how you kind of know about these local vegan events. It really helps for you to align your social media accounts so that, you know, those random events that pop up can be more so like events that you have been looking to go to in order to connect with other activists and organizers and people in the community who are having the conversations that you want to have. It's really important for you to know about them in order for you to show up, but it's also important for you to show up once you do know about them. So just a little plug, in DC, if you're in the DC area, we're having an unconference called Decolonize, which is a knowledge and skill share. I'm going to put the link below because it'll be a really great opportunity to connect with other people and hear different topics be facilitated, but also enter into the conversation and kind of establish or be exposed to different narratives within like decolonization, related to gender, related to veganism, related to very many things. So come out to that. It's hosted by Let Ourselves for Liberation and Fuel the People, which is my self organization, and my friend KR. So that, but also there are events at Thrive Baltimore, like all the time, that if you have been looking to try new foods, if you've been looking to connect with other people, if you just want to have like a potluck, they have like a Wakanda themed potluck dinner. So they do a lot of community oriented events like that. That's super cool. And then also just going to like Black vegan restaurants or spaces like Calabash. There's a tea shop in DC near Howard that's vegan. New Vegan Cafe, you know, they're kind of white centered now, but I mean, they're still a shot. Let me not say white centered. I'm gonna take that back. Go to New Vegan Cafe. The Land of Kush. Like, make sure that you're supporting local Black vegan restaurants because those are the spaces that you'll see the people that you want to connect with. For example, Sweet Sasumba Jamaican Cafe. I was there with my friend Benu, and we ran into this person named Seb, who was like really cool, and they actually were at my event. And I was just like, how did you hear about my event? You know, and now you're at like this cafe, and I remember I had to connect with them and be like, yo, like, let's link, because I think I have their number. It's unrelated. But see, it's like places like that you'll run into people and be like, yo, like, I really like your necklace. Like, where'd you get that? And, you know, you end up going in a conversation. You get their contact, right? And then a few weeks later, you see them sharing some really dope content. And you're like, oh, shit, I want to talk to them more, you know? So always go support the local vegan events and restaurants and businesses, pop-ups, things like that. Because that's the environment that you want to be in. To learn more about how you want to show up within the community, because as you interact with other people, you kind of see what's already being done, so you're able to say, like, where do I fit in, and where can I add to, what is something that I can do differently, like, what would be my niche in helping this whole, like, bigger picture coming together. So, that's that. The next thing I have to begin your vegan activism in your area is to buy from vegan clothing lines. And not even just like vegan clothing lines, but clothing lines that have like a vegan message on them that allow you to be an activist or that allow you to spread your message without having to say anything. Like that's one of the things I love about clothes is that For example, if I go out wearing this shirt, you probably already know that I'm vegan, and then you're probably wondering why, because I'm like a black person, right? I'm happy because I feel like I'm starting to look the way that I feel inside. I keep saying that because I'm like a black person who maybe doesn't appear super like appealing to the muscle. And so it's like wondering, like, you seem like in fact the type of person that would cuss a white person out. Veganism, I've always understood to be a very white thing. So I'm wondering why you're vegan, you know what I'm saying? Either way, like, even if that person doesn't even think anything about it, I know for certain that, like, when I was at AR conference, like, wearing my vegan stuff, supporting Redefine Your Mind, it was like, wow. It was really like, people, they hadn't seen vegans like that before. So, like, be mindful of how your body within a particular, like your black body or your brown body or your queer body, whatever, showing up within a particular set of clothing that aligns with the vegan movement can do so much for other people who look like you or who feel like you, who don't feel represented within the movement, who don't understand what's going on, because they may be more willing to ask you, like, so what's this about, than like a white person, right? Because perhaps they feel as though maybe your reasoning is more influenced by you know, how would I say this, more influenced by like ethical, like, it's more consistent. Yes, consistent anti-oppression. So in a way, like, I mean, especially, so there are very many like clothing. I would also go for like local, or not even local, but like individuals, you know, like small businesses, small community like oriented businesses. You know, I actually was given this as a gift, but just showing a few. This I was given as a gift as well, which maybe if you don't know what to ask for your birthday, ask for like vegan, because that's what I asked for last year, like vegan clothes. So that's a brand, Hood Vegan Vibes. So like basically whenever you see, and this all goes back to point number 2, like decluttering your social media, or like aligning it with vegan people, because you'll see on your timeline like people plugging like, hey, I have this brand, like it could be jewelry, it could be t-shirts, hats, like water bottles, pants, shoes, whatever, and it just gives you an opportunity to, one, support, yeah babe, it gives you an opportunity to, one, support like local vegan businesses, and 2, give you a platform, give you a chance to use your body as a platform to speak and advocate without, that's the word, advocate, I was saying activate, my god, without having to say anything, you know. So let me see, I also have this, Redefine Your Mind is who I would plug. Live sustainably. And make sure that when you are like, whatever, you get the point. Make sure that when you are in certain spaces where you don't necessarily want to answer a bunch of questions, you could always kind of show up and wear your message on your chest, which is what I like to do. With that being said, Black Feminist Vegan is working on creating a t-shirt line, right? Good night, love you. That being said, Black Feminist Vegan is launching a clothing line, and you can, I was thinking that a really great way to promote the brand and to connect with other activists is to kind of have like my message on my shirt. And I have several designs that you can see on my Patreon. You can pledge $1 today and contribute towards that goal, because I think it's really, like, one of the best forms of activism is using something that we have to wear clothes technically. You don't have to do all that. But if you are going to wear clothes, it's like choose clothes that empower you, that can have an impact on the world. Clothes that, like, you know, make a difference in a sense, that somebody looks at your shirt and it makes them think about something. So you can always support on my Patreon. I'll put that link below as well. So the last thing that I have to say that may not be as easy for everyone, which is why I put everything else before it,